Okay, thanks.
Do you want to introduce yourself, Steve?
Steve Rudolph. What's more there to say?
Am I next or?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. Luke Diaz, CDA member, mayor.
Adam Fry, CDA member and resident.
Okay. I actually have to go deal with a technical issue, so if we can just wait 1 second, or if you can approve the minutes, that'd be great. So I'll be back in hopefully 2 minutes.
I'll introduce myself. Katie Cole, Alderperson, District 2, City Council rep to the CDA, and I keep getting hit by my dog, so if you see my arm going.
Catherine Holt, City Planning Department staff.
And I don't think we have Dia, so do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the May 18th meeting?
So move.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any changes or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, minutes approved. So today we have one item and one item only, which is discussion and possible action regarding the Sugar Creek Elementary School and New Century Charter School property RFP. So I believe we have a few brief presentations and some more opportunity for questions and answers with our developer finalists.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that the direction staff provided the developers was, I think, a 3 to 5 minute presentation, and then a 3 minute presentation. Okay, Catherine's telling me 3. Thank you. It was a 3 minute presentation. So we have kind of randomly drawn names, and the first one up will be North Point. So I'm going to go find a lot of people here tonight. I'm going to find Sean. So hold on 1 second. And then most likely, just for sake of ease, I'll keep the developers as panelists so we don't have to demote them back down, but we'll have them do their 3 minute presentation. And I think it might be easier if they can answer the question, if you ask your questions after they do their presentations as a group. So we get through all 4 of them, and then you do Q&A, because there might be questions that are applicable to more than one developer. So with that, I'll promote. Oh, I got hands up. Good, this helps. Okay, hold on 1 second.
Adam, Dia is wanting to know if it looks like she's logged on. She says she's logged in, but she doesn't know if you can see.
I see her now. I will bring her in. Thank you. All right, Chris and Sean.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Let's get this straight. Okay, so I think I'm going to lead us off today. So thanks for having us back. Want to quickly say that I think you've got 4 excellent developers here at the table, and whoever you select, I think will be able to execute a project to be proud of. But we want to talk about why you should select us. And so we shared in our packet here a couple of images. One of our back to school block party in Fitchburg. We think that's the type of energy that we can bring to Central Park, events like that. And then also our Sequoia Commons project. That's really our vision for the Verona Avenue front edge of this project, and representative of some of the experience we have with first floor retail, mixed use projects. It can be a tricky thing with the conflict of uses and the sounds and smells and parking and issues that arise, but and also just finding the right mix of uses. So over multiple projects, we've learned a lot, and I think we can really help complement both sides of Verona Avenue with the Classic and Old National also being under control by our partners, North Point. So being able to find complementary uses across Verona Avenue there. We're bringing a broad range of housing. We've got senior affordable. We've got the 3-bedroom townhomes and market rate housing, as well as 4% and 9% applications on both sides of Verona Avenue there. So really all alternatives that we can bring to the project. We've got a 2-acre park, one of the largest, I think the largest that's being presented within the package. And probably most importantly, I think we've got the best financial offer for the Verona taxpayer. We're offering $1 million up front and a TIF request that really scales with the demo and environmental that we find, and then really the amenities that the city wants to bring to that central park. So it can be, depending on where we want to go with this, as big as or as small as we want to make it. So I know it's got to be brief here, and I'm open to questions, but I think our experience with the retail, our past projects as master developer for a large site like this, both Uptown and Fitchburg and Sequoia Commons, lend itself well to delivering what the city's looking for. Sean, you want to add anything to that? Miss anything?
No, I thought that was great. Yeah, we're excited about the project, and we're open and ready for your feedback.
Okay, do you want to go to the next presentation?
Sure.
Okay, so you guys can stay here if you want to leave. You just want to mute your mics, and you can turn off your screens if you like as well. It's up to you. So next up will be John Mackenzie. Let me see if I can find him. Oh, thank you.
Can you see me?
We can hear you and see you.
Okay, great. Well, I just want to go to the substance right away of the proposal, because I trust that you can all do the math. Our proposal has more amenities and asks for less TIF than any of the others that are being offered. If these were 4 pots of chicken soup and you boiled it all down, there's going to be more chicken in our pot. We have offered to meet everything that the citizen input phase had asked for. The centerpiece is this community pool. We're the only one to offer a community pool. That seemed to be the top amenity that the citizens wanted. And since our proposal came out, we've gotten an incredible feedback from the community about a lot of people that want to be involved. One of the people that reached out is a dad who used to be a competitive swimmer, and he said that he says that okay, all right. Said it was unstable, the internet. We've been kind of going in and out. Anyway, this guy was really advocating for an 8-lane pool. He said it's much better for city swim meets. We have the room to do that. We've shown in our budget it's about $150,000 more. We can add that into our TIF very easily. And with that in our TIF, we're still less than 1/4 of what one of the respondents is asking for in TIF. We have the most practical and realistic suggestion for the New Century School, which is going to be a huge benefit to both the youth of Verona and the community at large. We're proposing a partnership between the Madison Area Builders Association and the Boys and Girls Clubs of Dane County to do a skilled trades training facility to meet the needs of business and also to make kids aware of excuse me, the great opportunities that there are in skilled trades, plumbers, electricians, carpenters. Some of these people make up to $100,000 a year after a few years in the business, and there's no debt associated with it. I also have an image in my mind that I'd like Epic to be associated with this facility. In Sun Prairie at the Mackenzie Family Boys and Girls Club, we partnered with Google to do a technology hub in that building, and it's a great opportunity for kids to learn coding and computer skills. We've opened up some conversations with Epic. They're very early, but if this goes forward, we would love to bring them in to be a part of it. The apartment component, I'm going to say again because I'm really proud of it, Mackenzie Apartment Company is the highest rated online reputation of any apartment owner in the state of Wisconsin. Nobody else is even close. J. Turner Research in Houston, Texas did a 115,000 project survey, and we are #1 in the state. We have 4 properties that are in the top 1% in the nation. None of our competitors have even one. You know who we are. We're a third-generation family business. We have roots in Verona. We have a proven track record in Verona. We never sell our properties, so you can count on us being there consistently with quality. Jack and I drive through the properties every day. If there's a blade of grass out of place, we get on it. We want this to be a landmark property, and we're going to get it in the top 1%. I want to quickly show you a revised site plan. Okay. We noted in the discussions after the presentations last time, there was some interest in preserving the opportunity for the Brown Company to develop a mixed-use building on the corner.
Is there some way we can get that better?
The house. They have a footprint for their building that extends onto the Sugar Creek. See it in the upper right-hand corner. We figured out a.
Hey, John, I think we lost you.
Better, Steve?
Nope.
Is that any better?
That's a little better.
Oh no.
Can
Can you hear us?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. You'll see in the upper right-hand corner in pale yellow is the portion that's owned by Steve Brown currently. To the left of it is the area that we would detach and sell to Brown, so they would be able to retain the footprint they had originally proposed in their proposal for they could then do their mixed use. That has caused us to shrink our parking on Verona Avenue, which one of the CDA members wanted to see anyway. And then if you'll notice to the south of the pool, we've added in purple a parking area for 54 cars. That will service not only the pool, but also the park where the concert and bandstand and the farmer's market. So we think it's actually a better plan, and this is really potentially a great win situation. So with that, any questions?
I don't think right now, so I think if there's questions, you can stay in the audience, so maybe mute your video and mute your mic, or hide your video, mute your mic, and we'll go from there. Okay, next up that we have on the list is going to be Steve Brown Apartments. Hi, Brian.
Good evening, Adam. So I would have, let's see here, if we could have Margaret Watson, Scott Watson, Matt Meyer, and Dan Seeley as well. If you have any questions, then they can jump in.
Sure. Hold on one second.
All right.
All right. I think I got them all.
Great. All right. Well, while they are joining us, good evening. Brian Munson with Vanderwall & Associates, here tonight on behalf of Steve Brown Apartments and the Alexander Company. We've submitted a supplemental letter with more details on our proposal, but we just wanted to take a brief moment tonight to thank you for the opportunity to be part of this conversation about a really, truly exciting community vision and basically to express our excitement for the project. Our team is uniquely invested in the community as we're both locally based and currently building retail and residential projects in Verona. And we appreciate the chance to share how we can partner with you on achieving your vision for a vibrant new activity center. A vision that was really the cornerstone of our design and proposal. And we really do view this as an opportunity for partnership, as we are excited to work with you to refine our concept to match your vision. Our approach is tailored to create walkable retail, diverse housing, a 2-acre year-round activity space, and achieve the reactivation and historic preservation of the New Century School, all of which is coupled with an adaptable TIF request that is based on sound business practices and conservative assumptions. As partners, we'll work closely with you to right-size all the components of the project to match your vision for the site. We see this project as a great opportunity for a vibrant addition to the overall community, and that it can become a destination and activity hub, not just for this project, but for downtown and the entire city of Verona. So we thank you for the opportunity to be part of the discussion tonight. With me, as I mentioned, are Matt Meyer, Scott Washington, Margaret Watson, and Dan Seeley, available to answer any questions you might have. And we really look forward to working with you to create an iconic project. Thank you for an opportunity tonight, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Last up here is going to be Ted Mackham with Gorman Company. Ted, if you could raise your hand. And if anyone, from all the people from Steve Brown, if you could just hide your video and mute your mics.
You see me? Yep.
Yep, we gotcha.
Great. Hi, everybody. Thanks for inviting us back. We appreciate it. Once again, I'm the Wisconsin Market President for Gorman & Company. And I think we have what I think is the simplest plan, and that is without coincidence. We really intentionally wanted to present to you kind of the most simplistic plan. And that plan is 2 site plans that we've really given as an option. We prefer to do site plan number 2, but the first plan is site plan number 1, and that requires no TIF, and it would be land contributed for $1. It would have, in a sense, 3 components. One component would be the affordable housing component. That would be 86 units. We'd apply to the county for a contribution from the county for their affordable housing program. And that would be in each site plan. The second component, which would be in each site plan, is the historic school. The reason I like our simplistic historic school is that we would put amenities in there for the apartments and the community. So there would be a public access component, there'd be maker space in there, and there would be an unprogrammed type of green space that would be in front of there that people could rent out for events, or we could be a farmer's market there, and we have parking that's supporting that green space, which I think is a very realistic vision that can be implemented for the benefit of the community. And then the other component is a market rate component, which is on Verona Avenue, which would be 70 units of market rate. Site plan 2, just to be simple again, is in site plan 1, the school remains. In site plan 2, the school is removed. We really think that there could be a use to the school. I don't know what the real use would be, because we couldn't get really into the school to look at it. So I apologize for not having a proposed use for the school. But what we'd like to do is put in component A online, component B and C online, and try to find a use for the school. And then if we can't, then we'd work together to demo the school and put Church Street through the site, so you can connect both Legion and Marietta. And then the only TIF that we would ask in that situation is the cost to demo the school and for the road. So that's the only thing that would be subsidized in terms of a TIF. But site plan 1, the benefit is that you're going to get the tax increment right away immediately. Site plan 2 is if you had to, if we wanted to demo the school and bring Church Street through, it would be in a TIF plan where you'd need to have those expenses. I know that you guys, and I think Mayor, you've talked about the desire to have some retail on Verona Road, but in looking at what Forward is bringing to the table and what's also there in the 5 development up the road, you guys have a lot of retail, and it's a lot of retail that has to come online, has to figure itself out, especially in this new environment of COVID-19. Not sure how retail acts. So that's why we think our plan gives you an option of how you want to approach it, phases things in. Site plan 2 creates a neighborhood of townhomes, and intentionally, I have to say, eliminates the retail because we think that your retail needs are suited at those other developments, and this would be more of a residential type of feel. Answer any questions you guys want. Oh, the other thing is we would work, this is more of a GDP site plan for site plan 1 and 2, general development plan as you'd call, because people hate acronyms. What we would do is come to the community in an engagement process to do a specific implementation plan where components A, B, and C, and what we do with those in terms of design and programming would be open to a public process. And that we would come to you with a design, of course, that you would be comfortable with, and we would mutually work with something that would work within your vision. That's it.
Thanks, Ted. If you can just kind of mute your mic and turn off your video. So just so everyone's clear, right now I have all the applicants or proposal developers are currently panelists. So if you have a question, now we're in the Q&A. If you have a question, see if you can address that person or that particular proposal, or if it's all of them, and then if that developer at that point could then turn on their video, turn on their microphone, and then when you're done answering, kind of go back, it would just make the boxes on the screen here not as many. So if that kind of works logistically for everybody, if we can plan on doing that, that would probably be best. So. Any questions for the developers?
I can start while other people think. This is a question for all the developers. The Verona Area Historical Society sent a letter, which I think was passed on to the CDA, but asking if the city was interested in putting a deed restriction on the New Century building to prevent it from being torn down, and to potentially get the New Century building placed on the Registrar for Historical Places, or whatever it's called, of historical places. I'm wondering, I guess, for each developer, I guess your thoughts on the deed restriction in the National Register.
Well, John, why don't you go first? You're first up.
Okay. I spent many years out west preserving historic hotels. History means a lot to me. We are absolutely in on whatever it takes to preserve that building.
Or Ted, you're next. Oh, you muted, Ted.
Thank you. Sorry. I would have no problem with either of those things. Usually you would put the building on the historic register to obtain historic tax credits, which you could in this instance, and that would be a great financing plan. The only issue is there enough that you would do to the building that would create a market for those tax credits, those historic tax credits? But in and of itself, putting it on the register has no adverse effect to it or to deed restriction. That would be mutually agreeable in terms of what everybody wants to see the building to be. But I would have no problem with that.
Thanks. Matt?
Yeah, good evening. So as you probably know, Alexander Companies has a specialty in historic preservation. That's a big part of the work that we do, renovating historic buildings, and we've done a number of schools. So we would seek to list the building on the National Register, and we wouldn't have any issues with the deed restriction.
Great, thank you. Sean?
Hey, Mayor. North Point's in the same camp. In our proposal, we did list that we would guarantee to put it on the National Register and preserve it. So a deed restriction would be, would be just fine with us. We have an extensive experience in historic rehab and adaptive reuse, and we're quite familiar with, the National Register. So definitely.
Great, thank you.
Adam, I have a question for all developers. In order to compare the proposals apples to apples, what is the per unit cost or value you're putting on the land?
When we did our overall budget, we assumed $12,000 a unit for the market rate units and $6,000 a unit for the affordable units.
Thanks, John.
Ted, you're muted again.
Oops. The value of the land is, what we proposed was that the city was donating the value of the land to the project, so there was not a purchase price on it. So that would be the apples to apples comparison, is that we would like to purchase the land for $1. We did not have a purchase price for the land. Did that answer the question? That's really what it was.
I'm gonna come back to you, Ted.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the differentiators here for us, is that we're offering $1 million for the land, and then the demo and environmental and extension of Church Street are what they're going to be. So I think we put an estimate to those costs, but I think we're all going to find out exactly what they are as we go through the process, and I think that's consistent with what other developers have said.
Scott?
Our proposal also assumed that the city would be donating the land parcel to the development project. We do have metrics by which we measure a per unit value on land for the market rate, and I'm sure Alexander has the same for the affordable housing. But given that it's a mixed use with a substantial public component, I don't know that pencils out to anything other than so our assumption is that we would receive the land from the city at no cost.
Did you have a follow-up, Adam?
I do. So starting with Steve Brown and Alexander Company. So what do you see your build out? Your design looks great, by the way. What do you see the public space build out costing?
Steve Brown Apartments. Scott?
I'm back. Sorry guys. The public space, meaning the park and plaza and area for the community, I think that we had that in as about 2 to 3 million as program. Now our programming is just a suggestion, and it was the multi-use park and the multi-use plaza, year-round uses. That is scalable, as we talked about in our presentation. So if we go more than that, to a pool or some larger, more expensive use, that's going to be, obviously, we have to deal with that cost. if we go less and make it less ambitious, which we don't recommend, by the way, because we really want to see the whole site activated at one time, then that cost can be contained. But the public investment in that infrastructure, I think, in our proposal was about a third of the total public investment that we identified in our proposal. So about $3 million of the $9 million.
The other 2/3 comes from what? Roads?
The other third almost is from the public infrastructure, so the roads and utilities to serve the rest of the project that we would build out both to the north and the south and the west. And then the remaining, I think it was 2.7 or 2.9 million, is Alexander's estimate of the gap on the affordable housing component as it stands, as with what we know today, right, Matt?
Yeah, and I can speak to that a little bit because it's someone mentioned apples and apples comparisons, but you know, that $3 million gap is sort of a worst case scenario in our projections. We wanted to propose a way of financing this that is certain, or as certain as it could be, and that gap can be funded through any number of sources or combination of sources. It wasn't necessarily meant that the city was going to fund that entire gap. In fact, you know, there's a number of options. We could apply for 9% credits, as some of the others have proposed as well, which would significantly reduce that gap. But that's an extremely competitive resource, and only a fraction of those applications get approved. We're going for the 4% credit, which is much more certain, but generates less equity. And so the gap could be funded in part by WEDUS, but all those programs are competitive. So while others included those assumptions that those funds would be available, we included a gross number before accounting for those potential sources, because we wanted to have a conversation with the city about what that means for the underwriting and the unit mix and such. It's also worth noting that there's some pending legislation on the federal level that could fill that gap by itself. So we're waiting to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Answer your question?
Could I just add that our intent in identifying the public investment amount was to show the potential sort of worst case, as Matt said, conservative estimate of the cost to realize our vision, given the public infrastructure, the public plaza investment. It shouldn't be, I want to be clear that it's not an ask for TIF in the amount of $9 million. Only, like Matt just said, $2 to $3 million or less would be true developer assistance. The rest is really public infrastructure and public space development.
And for the market rate apartments, what did you use for pro forma for studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3s if you have 3s?
You're asking for rent amounts? Yeah, Dan, do you have that information? It may take him a minute.
And that would be for all the developers if somebody else has it ready.
I'll look for it too.
Adam, if you give me just 1 second, I've got so many things open that I'm trying to track at the same time to be prepared. I have this, it's just going to take me.
We've got quite a bit of.
John, you can go. Yeah, you can go, John.
Okay, we're a little over 1,000 for a studio. One bedroom, we're about 1,200, maybe a little bit more than that. And two bedroom, we're about 14, 15, 16. Well, I guess I'm out of touch. About 16. We hadn't initially planned any 3 bedrooms. You know, if the market wants it, we could provide 3 bedrooms. It's just they're a little bit of an odd duck, a little bit of a discipline problem. And so we prefer to be studio, 1 and 2 bedroom.
Sean?
Yeah, so I'm going to read off Chris's apartments. You know, for the market rate, the studios are averaging about $1,100 per month, all the way up to the 3 bedrooms. They're about $2,200 per month. So it's a nice range that we are planning everywhere from studio to 3 bedroom. I would like to point out on the affordable side that we are also pursuing the 4% tax credit. If you'll see our unit mix, we're including apartments that are set aside at 30%, 50%, 70%, and 80% of county median income. And the reason why we're doing that is it makes our application more competitive for the WIDA, the WIDA Qualified Allocation Plan, and also makes our application more competitive for other soft funding resources. And we've calculated in our gap, you know, that can be filled financially with all the resources that are available in the market, including you know, some HP funds that we believe that we would score quite highly on and could get those secured for the project by November. But even if we did not get those, we do feel like we have a strong enough project that we could move it forward in a timely manner. And with the range of apartments, we would be in pretty good shape. Just give me 1 second and I can pull the rents. The 30% rents for the you know, the 1s and 2s range from $500 to $600 a month. About 5% of our project is set aside 30% CMI. 55% of our project is set aside 50% CMI, and those rents range from $890 for 1 bedroom to about $1,100 for a 3, all the way up to the 80% rents that are about $1,000 for 1 bedroom to $1,675 for a 3. And those are all based on 30% of the household income.
I can add a little detail there on our 1 beds on the market. Market rate are $1,300, 2 beds are $1,800.
Thanks, Chris.
Dan, you ready?
Yep.
Okay.
So in terms of the market rate and the in terms of the market rate component, we are contemplating some 3-bedroom apartments. We think that it's going to be an attractive area and an attractive development for families potentially. So just sort of the way we're conceptualizing this in terms of the way our site lays out, at least for the market rate again, is we imagine the mixed use is sort of, you know, more of your 1s and 2s or 1 and 2 bedroom units, you know, in sort of an urban loft style, kind of targeting the young professional demographic. And then as you move into the more residential block style housing of the market family would be.
Put some foil over them.
Ted, sorry.
All right. Sorry about that.
That was somebody asking me a question. Ted, I'm going to let
my steak on the grill. Sorry about that.
Put one on for me. In terms of the more residential style in the larger buildings, you know, that's sort of where we're imagining more of the 1s, 2s, and 3s and sort of a broader demographic. You know, the sort of thing that we see in a lot of our other properties with baby boomers that might be looking to downsize or families that are just getting started, looking to move into Verona, but maybe aren't quite ready to take the leap to a house. And so they're going to start out in the apartment units. In terms of the rents on those, you know, we're anticipating something probably in the $1.50 a square foot range. That range is pretty palatable in terms of the demographics that we're talking about. Obviously, Alexander is going to be bringing along the affordable component, and their rent per square foot is going to be appropriate for that product. But we do imagine something in the realm of, you know, $1.45 to $1.50 per square foot for those products.
And what that translates into, to answer your question after all this time, Adam, is it's about $1,100 to $1,200 for 1 bedrooms. It's about $1,400 to $1,500 for 2 bedrooms, and around the $2,000 level for 3 bedrooms. And we do we, in contrast to Mr. Mackenzie, we do feel that the 3-bedroom market is very robust and very sustainable, and it does attract families or single parents with kids.
All right, Ted.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Dan.
Rare, Ted, rare.
Medium rare. So anyway, we are in the same range in terms of 1 and 2. We have 45 1-bedrooms, 25 2-bedrooms, and those are $1,200 for the 1-bedrooms and $1,535 for the 2-bedrooms. I think what differentiates our proposal is the townhomes, which makes more of a neighborhood feel. And the 2-bedroom townhomes go for $1,595, and the 3-bedroom townhomes go for $1,795. And we think that's a big component here, and really makes this a quote unquote Verona family development.
Thank you. I have 2 more short questions. Mr. Mackenzie, is the Steve Brown organization interested in selling that parcel or utilizing your portion of the site to do that corner mixed-use building on your new proposal?
Well, I'd have to say at this point, it's just my idea to accommodate. Okay. If the city of Verona wants to see a mixed-use component there, we can make that happen by detaching a portion to Brown. So there haven't been any discussions at all. I'm just saying we would certainly be willing to do it. In terms of, like the other way around, would we want to buy their corner and do some mixed use? I must say at this point, given the amount of commercial that I see on Verona Avenue, I wouldn't be confident doing that right now. I think you need, in order for commercial to work, you need rooftops, you need people, and that is sort of chicken to the egg. Well, in this case, it's very much the people that have to come first. So, if the Brown people have a vision there, I think it would be a great asset to the area. If they're willing to take the risk and do it, we'd be there to support them.
Okay. Thank you. That answers both my questions. Thank you.
Any other questions?
One really quick question. So we've talked a lot about the risk of 9% versus 4%, but every development has a risk. So I'm just curious if all developers are willing to say what they think the most uncertain part of their project is, whether it's a financing piece, a development type. Everybody's got something that maybe is the least likely to happen as planned. So what would that be?
Aaron, you want to start with me? Can you hear me?
Sure, we'll go John, Ted, then Dan.
I'm the oldest, so that's probably easiest for me to fall back on my experience. And I've got to tell you, Aaron, it's a really great question that you ask, because the older I get, the less certain I am about answering any of these questions, because the world is so weird and so many things happen that surprise you. I'm constantly looking to see what it is that could take us down. What are the great risks? It's always been for me job growth, interest rates, and overbuilding. I never saw the coronavirus coming. Right? I've never seen the unrest that's happening. Now, I will tell you, the thing that has, I think, been the thing that's worked for most people is experience and capital. If you have the money behind you to not be over leveraged, if you do one thing at a time, like has been my philosophy, you're not over invested in anything, and you can ride out tough situations because you got the capital. I'm not particularly worried about Verona in terms of its ability to absorb multifamily. I mean, you got Epic and a lot of other good things happening. Verona is a really attractive community. I would be a little bit more concerned about a retail component. I think there's an awful lot of, I mean, it sounds sexy and cities love retail, but the sexiest thing is retail that works. The least sexy thing are empty storefronts. So I think I'm confident of what we're proposing. I'm not so sure about other aspects of development there.
All right, Ted, you're up.
Okay, thanks, Adam. I agree with John and a lot of what he said in terms of the retail. That's why we proposed what we did, which was a WIDA deal as one component. And over the last 4 years, we've gotten county, funding on each one of our deals, and we think that's a real good bet. Based on Verona, I think anybody who gets this deal would go straight to the county and get their subsidy and be successful with a WIDA competitive round. And then the market rate, as John indicated, I'm not concerned with multifamily market rate in this market because of Epic and everything that's going on here. I think you're still underserved in terms of housing. And then I really think that the families, if you want the riskiest part of what my proposal was, it's really the townhomes coming online. But I tried to mitigate that risk, targeting 3 bedrooms and 2-bedroom townhomes, which I think really fits in the neighborhood.
All right, Dan.
So maybe I'm the youngest, but the organizations that I work for and the organization that we're partnered with are not. We've been around for a long time. We've been doing this for a long time. So what do we think is the most risky aspect of this, or the most uncertain aspect of this? I think really it comes down to whatever the ultimate vision is. I mean, we keep talking about that. We keep talking about wanting to have a partnership with the city of Verona. We have presented what we think this site deserves and what we think can be brought to this site in terms of activation, in terms of impact, in terms of all of those things. But really the uncertain part is where we end up at the end after working with the city of Verona and talking about what the final product looks like. People are concerned about the retail. The other developers are concerned about the retail and are talking about all the retail that's in Verona or coming to Verona. The only retail project that's in Verona right now is ours. There are a few others that have been talked about, but the only one that's there is the one that we got done. And we're going to get this one done too. We were confident when we brought Market 5 into the presentation and through the approval process. We remain confident in that product. We're confident in this product as well. So really the only uncertainty that I think we've been watching this site and excited about this site and imagining what could be done on this site for a long time now. So the only uncertainty we have really is can we get to where we want to go? Can we get to the place that we've shown you? We're being ambitious, and we're hoping you're going to be ambitious too. And I think that's the uncertainty that we have right now for this project.
And if I could just jump in a little bit on the retail piece, our excitement about the retail isn't just square footage. It's the way that all of the different uses intermix with the activity center to create a destination and expand upon the fabric of downtown. We see this as a really exciting chance where the activity drives interest in retail. You can picture that the coffee shop, the New Century School being reactivated, events going on in the park. All 3 of those legs kind of support that opportunity for more activity on the site. So we're confident that it's not just square footage, it's really well-positioned square footage in the market to really create an opportunity for people to come and congregate on this site.
I think for our plan, I think my biggest concern is neighbors complaining about the level of noise from the pickleball courts. I've heard that often is a complaint that puts those types of amenities in jeopardy. But in all seriousness, we developed this plan with the intent of reducing risk completely. Now, working at WIDA for 14 years, I've seen, a lot of really good projects apply, go through the process, and, something just happens or something falls a little bit short. We hope that we have a plan in place where that's not going to happen. And we know that we are, really good affordable housing developers. We also have done market rate, but to reduce the risk of our overall plan, we wanted to bring in a market rate professional, someone to partner with that we worked with together in the past and worked well together with in the past. And so we wanted to partner up with Avante Properties. At first, we were looking at not proposing retail on Verona Avenue, a little bit more risk, but after hearing from, the mayor and some of the other folks in the CDA, we're willing to take that risk, we really think that we have a plan that works and that we'll be able to deliver on.
I can add to that, and I think we learned a lot about mixed use over the last 2 decades of doing it, and it's an art to pull together the right mix of uses with residential. So I think that experience is going to be key to making Verona Avenue a vibrant place. Risk for me, I think is kind of it's a risk with the city, but I don't think any of us really know what's underneath the ground there, underneath the school. I think there's an environmental component that we're all going to have to investigate and figure out how to tackle. And it's going to be, hopefully, it's not a big cost, but we don't know until we start poking some holes in the ground.
I would just add to, the 9% resource is competitive for a reason. It's the most powerful affordable housing resource that's available in the marketplace. We believe that it's a perfect use for a redevelopment site. That's why we're targeting the Classics Old National. Because of the amount of subsidy that resource provides, it allows us to kind of take that next step and take a more difficult site and more difficult projects and make that a mixed use workforce housing development. And so we're trying to take, that really competitive resource, push it to a separate project within the city, but really also deliver something in addition to the overall downtown plan.
Okay, what other questions are there? Okay. There was a scoring sheet included in your packet. I know that was talked about last time as well. That's something I think staff, we encourage you to look at. I know Brett mentioned that last time as well, having a scoring kind of matrix. So I'm not sure if we're at the point of talking about that, but just wanted to remind everybody that was in the packet, and hopefully you've had a chance to look at it.
Yeah, I found it very helpful.
We want to talk. It appears we have no more questions, so.
No, I do have one.
Okay, go Steve.
Just a quick one about the pool. I think we got a letter this morning about the pool, which questioned whether who's going to be responsible for maintenance of that. And I don't know if we have a response. So can either Adam or John tell me who's going to be responsible for the maintenance of the pool?
Do you want me to take that, Adam?
Sure.
Okay. It would be our idea that this would be built by us and turned over to the city, which the city could either do as a municipal pool, like I think the Goodman Pool is in Madison, or could set up a separate entity, Wexford Ridge. My mother started the Hill Farm Pool in Hill Farms. And you just set up a separate group, and then you manage it with fees, There also is the possibility of going out and doing an endowment where you go out and raise a bunch of money, and then that endowment funds the pool long-term, from the investments that they do. But the idea is that it would be a city of Verona asset, not a Mackenzie asset.
Thank you.
there aren't any other questions, do CEA members feel comfortable talking about what their top two? We don't have to talk about what our bottom ones are, but maybe someone could share what they feel their top two ones are and perhaps why. Start some discussion.
I'll start. My top two, in alphabetical order, is the Mackenzie property proposal and the Steve Brown proposal. I think they both are quality developers. I've known of Steve Brown for over 20 years. They're great neighbors to some buildings that I own downtown. They do a very nice job. They manage their properties extremely well. They don't just build them and move on. I think the design of the Steve Brown proposal is fantastic. My other top one, the Mackenzie proposal, I like that it has a public pool. They also, I think, are exceptional builders and manage long-term, which is very important to me, given my background and experience. So those are my top two, Aaron.
Adam? Anyone else want to compare thoughts?
I can go next. I think they're all good, and I think the city could, we could work with any of the developers on the projects. But I would say I have Steve Brown and a North Point. For Steve Brown, I think I would want to talk about the TIF a little bit, but I like the retail that's being put under Verona Avenue. I think it's our opportunity to kind of work with an L-shaped downtown that goes from Main and then goes west on Verona Avenue and provides kind of shopping, and then of course public amenities as well. I like North Point with some of the housing that they picked and just a flexibility to work with the city. I think back to the Steve Brown. I think all the developers have shown that they're flexible. But I would probably want to talk about whether we'd want to do a children's museum or some other kind of museum. But I think, in my mind, those are the two strongest proposals, although I think any of them could work.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Steve, Radia, or Katie?
I can go. My top two are Mackenzie and North Point. I feel like Mackenzie did a really good job listening to what the community said they wanted, and going through materials and the meeting that we had and really responding, especially with the pool. I mean, as an alderperson, I've been contacted more than I can even count about how many people in the city want a pool. This is a great central location for that. I feel like they're making very good use of the space with public amenities. And I really love the idea for New Century School, partnering with the Boys and Girls Club. I think that's a fantastic idea. And then with North Point, I really like their mix of like senior living in there as well. I'm on the Senior Resources Committee, and I think that's really important to include affordable senior housing, as well as I think like the schoolyard apartments and townhomes was a really fun idea that they had. So, and I like their, back to school block party, like the energy they're bringing was something I really liked as well.
Is it my turn here?
It can be your turn.
Steve, you're muted.
All right.
All right, now it's your turn.
My top two are Mackenzie and North Point. I really, really like the flexibility that Mackenzie has built into this. And, they've been around Verona for quite some time. And they did do an excellent job on the Sienna Ridge apartments and continue to be good neighbors, because I know that because I'm one of them. But the thing I really, really appreciate is their technical training, concept, thinking outside the box with the Boys and the Girls Club. And if those members of the CDA remember, when we had our meeting at City Hall, and it was an open meeting and the community was invited to attend, I recall that evening there were two housing associations or neighborhood associations. One of them was Military Ridge and the other one I can't recall. But both of them said that their organizations had meetings and wanted to send representatives to let us know that it was really important to them to have a pool, a municipal type pool in Verona. And that's what the community, that's what they said that night. And I think we have to take them at their word. And it's something that I know we've got 400 pools around the area, but most of them are not as accessible as this would be. North Point, the fact that they've got, they're offering $1 million, and the fact that they have some fantastic attributes for amenities, I think is terrific, and I think they would do a good job as well. In fact, I think we can't go wrong in selecting any one of these four, but those are my top two.
Thanks, Steve.
You know, I go next.
Oh, you're it.
I think it's a good segue here. I think my top two would be Mackenzie and Steve Brown as well. Mackenzie for a lot of the reasons that Steve just mentioned. I think that there's been a long dialogue around the pool. I think the splash pad is great for a younger generation, but a pool, you keep hearing, can be used more multi-generation and throughout the people that do live here. I thought the Steve Brown design, and when we think about vision and the term activating that corridor was very strong and very intriguing. The use of that green space that they have there that ties Verona Road back, I think is very intriguing as well. It was a hard decision. Frankly, if the North Point retail across the street was included in this rubric, I think it might have been a little bit different, but looking at its merits, I think I would vote Mackenzie and Steve Brown.
Thanks, Brett.
I can go, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So my top is Mackenzie. Again, I mean, people talk about the pool, the older kids want the pool, and the thing is that there's a large number of kids who it can be really helpful for them as they work up through swimming and swim team, and there's all kinds of uses of fun. I also really like the Boys and Girls Club partnering, and I like the idea. He's like, hey, maybe there's an epic partnering. He's got a lot of really good ideas how to reach out and make this a really strong community place. So that's my pick for number one. And number two would be North Point. The piece I liked was the townhouses, because I think, or having that flexibility in the housing. I think that I like the green space as well, but I think if we're really trying to be welcoming and have people come in, having that flexibility of size, we need places that are also 3-bedroom along with the 2 bedrooms and the studios. You have the families who need a way to be here for the school and the other things. So those would be my two.
Thanks, Gia. So funnily enough, mine were going to be Steve Brown and North Point, which means I think we have a 3-way tie between those who got first and second place votes across the board. But just to close the loop on, I do, like the mayor said, the ability to have a walkable downtown. This is our only shot, and Steve Brown provides that, and the vision for the site I really appreciate in terms of a comprehensive approach to site planning was 100% the best one to me. But I also think North Point has some great housing diversity and different types, like Dia said, that has the most to offer in terms of bringing different things to the table and things that we don't have. and also some great green space. So I appreciated both of those. They also coincidentally have the highest future tax base too, which is something that, you know, is worth noting. So with a three-way tie, I don't know how, I know we originally had hoped to come to some agreement on what to recommend to council. Does anyone have any thoughts on further winnowing or discussion?
I guess this might be a question for Mr. Sayre too, but we could either forward on the top three. I think for the Mackenzie one, I think we would want to go to the council and ask about if the council wanted a pool and how we'd pay for that, which I'm not saying we should or shouldn't do it. It's just that seems like it's a key part of that component, but like maybe just forward on the three. I don't know, Mr. Sayre, if anyone else has any thoughts about how to handle it.
You can do what you want. So you could forward off one, you could forward off two, you could forward off three, you could forward off all four. So it's really discretion from the CDA. I mean, if you could, you know, obviously weed it down to one or two, that might make the lives easier for the council. But you can kind of do what you want. I think ultimately, at the end of the day, once you forward that off to them, though, it's going to be out of your hands. And if so, there's a strong opinion now, I would encourage you to kind of state it now, because I don't think it's going to come back to the CDA. It could, but most likely the council is going to make a decision kind of on, you know, just what is being discussed here in the comments here tonight. So you can do what you want. There's no requirement of what has to be done.
Aaron, you said it was a 3-point tie. I'm being a visual person, and the fact that I didn't write these 1, 2, and 3 down, is it possible to show me? Do you have the tally?
I do. So it's I think it's 4 for Steve Brown, 5 for Mackenzie, and 5 for North Point. So it's I mean, virtually a 3-way tie.
Yeah, that matches my count as well.
What?
Sorry,
You muted yourself, Luke.
Sorry, no, that matches my count as well. I don't know who else was keeping track, but yeah, 4, 5, 5.
I mean, I guess my biggest concern with how is that a bunch of the Mackenzie ones rely on the pool being a key asset, but that's far from certain. It's the least related to the site. It has nothing to do with everything else around it.
And I know that I mentioned the Boys and Girl Club, but the part where he would partnership and bring in the education about the trades, I think that is an incredibly valuable piece for our community that's often overlooked. And I think having that, incorporating, I think that's really big beyond the pool. And I know that they only have this tiny time to present, so they can't all present, and maybe they all had some thought like that. But to me, that really resonated. I like the pool, but actually that piece with the Boys and Girls Club and the trades and that piece stuck with me more. That community center piece of it stuck with me more.
Thanks.
I just wanted to say, because you were talking about the pool, but
if we bring all 3 to council, are they going to be representing to common council, or is this are we just bringing just our sole recommendation to council for discussion? Because based on feedback I know from other council members is, I mean, they like having choices. So I don't think it'd be a problem if we brought all 3 for council to view.
You know, I
disagree. I think we need to narrow it down to 2. I think we've heard a lot of nice presentations, and bringing more than 2 to the council, I think would be a mistake. So I'm willing to, you know, discuss more of the pros and cons till we get down to 2 tonight.
And again, Aaron, you said it was 4, 5, and 5, so essentially a 3-way tie, but not truly a 3-way tie. So the 5 and 5 who were the 5 and 5?
Mackenzie and North Point are the 5 and 5 at the moment.
And then that's who I would recommend that we recommend to the city.
Are they going to be able to represent Adam, Sarah?
I think if you want a short presentation, you could. I once again, probably 5 minutes or less.
Okay.
I know Luke, both Mayor Diaz and I encouraged everyone to watch the last CDA meeting
Right.
with the goal of not having
Right.
to kind of go through it all over again. But I think probably a 5 minute or less presentation would be appropriate.
I agree.
So this is more of like a voting theory kind of question for the chair, since this is partially at the chair's discretion. But like, I don't necessarily know if people ranked their choices or if people had them equally the same. I know some people had 1 and 2, so I mean we could just go around and people basically pick one, or we could, as Steve said, you know, just forward the 2 that had it. I don't know, because I did prefer personally the Steve Brown one over the North Point one, although I like them both obviously.
Here's what went through my mind, and that was at the end of the meeting, if you recall, I asked if there was a manner in which we would conduct a vote and get maybe the top 2 done. And this evaluation proposal was submitted, and I mean, I studied it a long time and looked at my notes and the information that I had, and I was very diligent in the how I allocated the votes and did it right on the right on that proposal. And it became quite clear to me, you know, what I was in favor. So if each of us did that, you know, we've got 2 organizations that came out, and this process has been adjudicated, and I very, very honestly think we ought to move the top 2 as recommendations to the city.
An official motion, Steve?
Yeah, I'll put that in a form of motion.
Can I add one comment to that before we go that far? I guess going back to Luke's comment of, do we awarding 2 first place votes, or are we awarding a first and a second place vote? And do those votes, and does our feeling of the scoring, Steve, to your point, does your scoring rubric, where you have the scores tallied up for Gorman, Mackenzie, North Point, and Steve Brown at the bottom, is there 2 that are equal, or is there one that's more so than the other?
Between Brown and Gorman? Is that what you asked, Dennis?
No, just in overall.
2. I think you
Just your top 2. I guess seeing that it
My
is so
top
close.
2 are Mackenzie at 65.5 and North Point at 63.5.
So I think if we were to give a little weighing to the votes, to Luke's point, does a first place vote count more than a second place vote? Given that there's 5, 5, and 4, and we just were given our top 2, it may be a time for us to put our scoring and say who got the most first place votes versus the most second place votes.
I agree.
In other words, take our 1, 2, 3, and 4 and assign points to them, like 5 points for 1, 4 points for 3, 2 points for, or 3 points for 2, and 2 points for 1. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if we need to go to the 3 and 4 at this point.
Just go to 1 and 2.
Just give our 1 and 2,
and then assign 5 points to 1 and 4 points to 2.
I think I love to talk about ranked choice voting to show off I have a degree in political science. But basically, you would get everyone could do your 1 choice and your 2 choice, and then you'd add them up. And if there was basically the top 2 on number 1 choices, and there were 2, you would say, okay, those are the top 2. If there was a tie, then you'd use the second
Sure.
to rank it.
Criteria.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. I mean, let's do it.
Well, I think so. I can actually do that with what we have, provided that everybody, when you gave your answers the first time, gave them in the right order.
Maybe we should read just in case.
Yep.
Just in...
I agree.
Okay,
Luke.
I guess I'll start. Mackenzie 1, North Point 2.
Yep.
I'll go Steve Brown 1, Mackenzie 2.
I'm Mackenzie 1, North Point 2.
Mackenzie 1 and North Point 2.
I'll go next. Steve Brown 1 and North Point 2.
Adam?
Mackenzie 1, Steve Brown 2.
Aaron, what'd you have?
Oh, I had Steve Brown 1, North Point 2. I was doing math.
I figured.
I think in that math, somebody else, Adam looks like he's writing also, but I think then we end up with, if you give 2 points for a first place and 1 point for a second place, you end up with Mackenzie at 8 and Steve Brown, North Point both at 7. I think we got closer, not farther away.
Which one had more number 1 choice votes?
Now we're tied for Steve Brown and Mackenzie for first place votes. Oh, we can't be. Hold on.
So that would,
Mackenzie got more first place votes, 4 to 3. Mackenzie to Steve Brown.
And then between Steve Brown and North Point, who had more first place votes?
Yep.
North Point didn't get any first point votes. They were everybody's second choice.
okay. So it looks to me like I will rescind my motion and remake the motion to forward to the city council the names of Mackenzie and Steve Brown.
Second.
Further discussion? No further discussion. All in favor of submitting Steve Brown and Mackenzie to council as the top 2 recommendations from the Community Development Authority?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so just for clarification, we will have that on the council agenda for next Monday night. We'll be doing that meeting via Zoom. That meeting starts at 7 o'clock. We'll plan on doing 5-minute presentations for the council for both those proposals. They'll have the ability to present. If they want to share a screen, they can share a screen. And then the council, if they choose to do so, they can potentially make a...
Can we watch that on TV?
No, I don't think it's on TV. It's on YouTube or it's on Zoom. I
It's
think.
on Zoom. You're already here, Steve.
So we can watch it on Zoom? Just sit there and be quiet?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're just in the audience, yeah. Or you can watch it on YouTube. But I don't think we've gotten the cable feed figured out yet. Maybe we have. Andrew might text me, but definitely those 2 you can watch it on, and it'll be available. So we'll plan on putting it on the agenda for Monday.
And Adam, you would like us to send you our scoring sheets, correct?
I think it'd be good. We like to just have them for the record. It'd be nice to have. So yes.
My computer ate mine, so I'll redo it. I got a new laptop, and I tried to transfer things, and something happened, and I don't know what it is. So I know what I did.
So we can just email those sheets, our scoring sheets to you, Adam?
Or Catherine. Either one of us.
Catherine.
Yep.
All right. Sorry, Catherine.
Any other business? Otherwise, I entertain a motion to adjourn. And I first want to thank our developer friends for coming back and answering our questions and sharing their vision. It was wonderful. We appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming and putting in that hard work.
Agreed. Thank you.
I move to adjourn.
From anyone?
Second.
Who made the first motion? I'm sorry. Was that Brett? Was that you?
I did.
Oh, Adam did. Okay.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.